Welcome everybody. Today we're going to be going over a first ever basically interview with Don here. So again, before we get started, my name is Dr. Ryan Weaver. I'm the owner of Apex Spine and Performance. We are chiropractors. We are lifestyle coaches, if you will, and really you brought this interview up, and we've kind of been talking about this, I would say almost feels like a year. I know time flies anymore, but you wanted to do this interview. I wanted to do this interview. We're going to go through your health history briefly, but more so and important, your health journey. So, Don, why did you want to do this interview?
My goal today was to help people. I made some choices, and those choices led to a difference in my entire life. And I want to share that journey with those people, because journey is the perfect word. It's not an overnight change, it's lifestyle change. And I want to share those with other people and help them. So,
speaking of journey, I'm looking and I have right in front of me your initial application for care, dated February 23rd of 2022. So just over 2 years. And one of the things I know you just before we started this, you wanted to bring up that you were diagnosed as morbidly obese. So share with us why you wanted to, get into that.
Well, one of the things that really kind of scared me is when I was thinking about my weight and my health, and irrespective of the pain I was in, just in general. I have children, I'm hopefully have grandchildren someday. I wanted to live to see my grandchildren, maybe my great-grandchildren. The legacy we leave our families can be greatly influenced by being present. And I felt that, we know that morbidly obese, is a very frightening thing. That, we know morbid means death. So to be deadly obese, meaning that you are going to likely die from some complication of your weight, it's a frightening thing, and it's not usually something that you live with forever. It's a very life-shortening event. So
I took this note, I know, and you gave me permission to go over when you started care, what your body weight was. What was that?
360 pounds.
Today,
248 pounds. That's a huge loss. I've lost a person.
To the day. 2 years and 2 months.
And I've lost a person.
That's insane. So, let's kind of review this. Your main complaint, back pain, groin pain, your feet, and going through here. You had dizziness with range of motion. Range of motion was just difficult in general for you. Your orthopedic test, we weren't even able to perform them because it was so bad. And one of my favorite questions that I ask my patients it's called a question of truth. So, most people and most physicians ask what your goals are. And inadvertently, we immediately just say, well, make the back pain go away. Make my feet stop hurting. But you said that you don't want to come home and instantly go to bed. To get back to researching for hours. A normal routine. And to go, do you remember this one?
I want you to read it though. It was one of my favorites.
Well, some of it got cut off on the very bottom, but this was, I remember you telling this. What was it?
One of my favorites, huh?
To go to the ball, correct? With your daughter?
The Blue Knights Ball. I wanted to be able to go and enjoy the time there with my daughter and celebrate her successes.
So, you were able to do it. What was it? Do you remember the date of that, roughly?
It was late February. It was just a few weeks after this, so yeah, I was able to go.
So to me, especially as a healthcare provider and as a chiropractor, that out of all of this and what we're going to get into, those were the things that mean the most to me to be able to help you do. And one of the things I tell our patients, you know, I'm not here to help fix the problems that you created, because I didn't have any part in creating it. But back to kind of the heading of this is a lifestyle change.
Absolutely.
And we were, you know, researching just for fun, morbidly obese on Google, and the changes, well, lifestyle change, weight loss surgery, or medication. So let's get into the medication part.
Absolutely.
This, I keep saying, I'm probably going to say this a lot. My favorite part of this, and to see you succeed, I have like 10 favorite parts of this. So I actually have, you gave me this, and the goal was to totally get off of it, correct?
Correct.
And totally stop taking that. So gabapentin, and you were up to a high dose, and now 2 years later you don't take any.
Don't take any at all. Haven't taken any in over a year now.
Ibuprofen. You were taking, you know, you said you were basically consuming it like water. I usually say, you know, you're just consuming it like you're eating Skittles.
Mm-hmm. Absolutely. Absolutely.
Where are we at now on that?
Haven't had a single one.
How long?
More than a year and a half now.
So we have been a year without gabapentin, ibuprofen. You said you wore two back braces as well.
It's the only way I could sit down without crying. I kind of want to describe my pain, and so that people understand. We can talk all day about pain and its effects. I love to enjoy life, and whether it's work or outside of work or anything that basically makes us who we are, I enjoy. And I was in so much pain that I wasn't able to enjoy anything. I couldn't sit down. I would cry when I sat down, even with two back braces on. Without the two back braces, I couldn't even sit down. I couldn't make it all the way down to the chair without being in too much pain. And I didn't want to live that way.
So
I wanted to make choices that were different.
So we really jumped into this, again, we'll call it our interview. But tell me a little bit more about you.
I love quite a few things. I love to work. That's one of my most favorite things. It gives a person a sense of purpose, and I don't like to sit still. I like to continually keep going, keep moving. I'm an active person, but I wasn't able to be active, and that was what was really bothering me. I enjoy genealogical research, so I would spend hours sitting at a desk, and we all know what our posture is like when we spend hours sitting at a desk. And the pain was so great, I could not participate in any of the things I enjoy. I mean, I just wasn't able to.
So, diving into the story, what did you do, what did you try before seeking care with us?
I spoke to a doctor. He sent me to a pain management specialist. They gave me gabapentin. That bottle that you held up a little bit ago, that's only a 1 month supply. So if we want to talk about how many pills are in that big, huge bottle, that was only a 1 month supply. And they put me on gabapentin, and they kept raising the dose. That was the maximum dose I was on, and I was on it. Within a month and a half, they had raised me up to that dosage. And it still really wasn't enough. They had sent me to physical therapy. In physical therapy, they said that I was disabled 80%, meaning that I could not perform 80% of my normal daily routine. So it does not mean that I could not move or walk. Being medically disabled means that you cannot perform your normal daily routine. After the end of therapy, the therapist looked at me and she said, "I know that you're really trying." She said, "But we're not making progress." She said, "We're going to release you due to your insurance company." She says, "They feel that you have to be making progress for this to be valuable to you." And I was making no progress. I was just as disabled to them medically than I was when I walked in the door weeks earlier.
So a few things come to mind when you tell me this story. And one is, hope was basically stripped of you.
Absolutely.
The second thing is, it's almost like you just got kicked out of the system because we essentially took hope from you. We didn't know how you were going to end up. So let's expand on, again, back to one of the things you mentioned just before we started this, what your goal for this interview was. And, I'm just going to hold up the number one, and I have a feeling you're going to take it from there. So fill me in on that.
My absolute number one goal here was to affect the life of just one person. We can change the world, but we can't change it by ourselves. We're a community. And this community and every other community in our nation, small actions can change the world by affecting others. The legacy we leave for each other and our families is what's most important. And that legacy truly is what's left of us when we're long gone and people have forgotten our names. That legacy still lives on. And if you can just change the life of one person by helping them make smarter choices. Life is a choice. Everything you do in life is a choice. You always have a choice. You can choose to continue and to fight back and to push harder. You can choose to give up. You can choose to take medication, to not take medication, to seek care. There's all those choices, and basically it's up to you. No one can force you to do anything. That's something that really I took to heart, is that I had to make choices, and those choices were going to affect my quality of life for the rest of my life and how long that life could be. I chose to want to help somebody today. I'm hoping somebody out there listening to this interview hears that and says, you know what? I too can make choices.
So, Dr. Jake Helms the other day did a spinal workshop on the psychology of healing. So, and I can remember this. I remember sitting knee to knee with you, and you had zero hesitation. You were all in, and you wanted to do this, and you wanted to make the change.
Absolutely.
I can expand on, how long I've been practicing, and, the psychology. Some people actually do want to improve. Some, the system has beaten them up. They've continued to fail. Hope has been basically taken away from them. Can you expand a little bit or enlighten a little more of what you believe as a patient, how an attitude of positivity ensure other discipline and continuing to just say, I'm going to do something and this is going to happen?
Absolutely.
How do you feel like that helped you in this whole process?
I think it's what got me through this whole process. I could have given up at the beginning. I could have, suffered and taken more and more medication, and I could have, prematurely made life-ending decisions, because if I didn't make the changes, one of the things my doctor said to me is, are you prepared to die?
Wow.
Because your weight is that high. I was undiagnosed diabetic. I was diagnosed shortly after all of this took place, and to put it mildly, my A1C was over 10, and meaning 10% of my cells in my blood were coated in sugar. The doctor basically said, you have a choice. He said, you can change your lifestyle or you can die. Do you want to live or not? And that's a tough choice. I mean, it sounds easy. Yeah, you want to live, absolutely. But do you want to change your entire lifestyle so that you can live and live with quality versus choosing the easy way? And it's very easy to swallow pills. It's very easy to eat what you want, to live the way you want. We all do it. And to an effect, I still do. I don't want anyone to think I'm perfect. I make mistakes every day. I make bad choices as well as good choices. It truly is about making the choices during the opportunities in life you're given and choosing the right choice to make yourself healthier.
And I just even wrote a note on that. I mean, you have a choice. You have a choice and hopefully part of your healthcare team gives you hope.
Absolutely.
And of course, you know, there's always an exception to some things. But if we can do things naturally and then be more preventative. Your message to the younger you, or what you would have done differently.
If I could give the younger me messages, it would honestly to be start this earlier. By not starting when I was young to take care of myself, I made my situation worse over time. And there are changes I've made, but that doesn't change the damages I've done already. I know that had I made these choices earlier, I would have never got to this position. I would have never been in that pain. I would have never been that morbidly obese. So if I could tell myself something, it was 20 years ago to use my brain and make smart choices.
So one of the things, and I feel like we've at some point over these 2 years discussed this, you know, the power that made the body heals the body. God made a brilliant system. And we've really found a way, especially as Americans, to screw it all up. I've just been the instrument to help along the way, change this all naturally. What do you think that means to you, in your beliefs, or, you know, anything that where you were, you know, 26 months ago to today?
Absolutely. There are two things that truly means to me. The first would be, I never wanted to take medication. I've never been one. I just thought, you know, medication is there when you need it, when you're sick, if you have antibiotics because you are ill, you know, things like that. I didn't want to be permanently on medication. Mm-hmm. I have family members that take more than 20 pills a day. And, you know, I don't want to be a person that takes 20 pills a day. First of all, I never have liked taking medication. And second of all, I did not want to rely on that. And if you miss a pill or you have side effects, I didn't want to suffer. And to be blunt, you know, I look at this pill bottle and this was like a weight. Kind of think of it as an anchor around my neck. Mm-hmm. And every other pill bottle that I had was an anchor around my neck. And it wasn't helping me choose to make changes. It was helping me maintain where I was at. And I didn't want to maintain anymore. I wanted rid of these and I wanted to make changes. And it's about making a choice and deciding right now, I'm going to change. That's what it's about.
So, you know, I said this is sitting on my desk in my office. What do you value about Apex Spinal Performance?
I have quite a few values that I value about Apex. The biggest thing that is probably the greatest is you guys were here and your entire staff was behind me. I felt everyone on your staff was here to support me. You guys had my back. You were behind me. You were there for me, and you were there in a nice, comfortable atmosphere. Mm-hmm. When I come in, I can feel my day change. You know, a lot of what you choose in life is also about your mental state, how you feel about life. And we can make choices and still be heading the wrong way if we don't have our head in the right space. And I love when I come in, the atmosphere, you know, the feeling of being greeted when you come in with a smile, you know, feeling that, you know the people, it's not just a number you are, and you feel like a person who they actually care about and they got your back. And that's probably one of the greatest things, is knowing that everyone here was here to support me. Mm-hmm. And that no one was judging me. No one was, you know, saying, here's another patient. You know, it was what makes you you and how can we help you? And that attitude touched me. One of the very first things you said to me was about my water intake. You said to me you wanted me to drink half my weight in ounces in a day. And I had a response, and it kind of shocked you because you stopped for a moment and didn't know what to say. But what I said to you, and I'll always remember this, is I either need to learn to drink a lot of water or I need to learn to lose weight.
I remember that. Yeah. Yeah.
I mean, if you want to look at that, I was 360 pounds. That's 180 ounces. And because I'm a mathematician, I will tell you that is 1.4 gallons or 22 and a half cups a day of water.
That's nuts.
That's a lot of water. So I had to do something. If I was going to, I'm a person who believes in following through with what you're going to do. And so if I was choosing to do this and I was going to follow through and I was going to invest the time into it, I had to do what you asked. So I knew right then I need to lose weight and learn to drink water, both, until I could balance the two. And that was one of the first changes I made. I drink water, I mean, today I don't even think about it. I at one point I was measuring the amount of water I drank because I was trying to live up to a goal, and then I realized very quickly early on, I realized that if I just make the change, I don't even have to measure anymore. I knew I was making the change. I wasn't drinking other things. You know, I was drinking water because I wanted water. I desired it. And because of that, that's one of the first changes I made. And I think that's really when some of my weight loss started, because I realized this water is the initial change. Now the choices I make afterwards improve that. Absolutely. But I'll never forget that. That's probably one of the most important
I do remember that.
starts.
I do remember that. So you don't have to mention name on here, but I know you were referred by another patient. And,
absolutely.
You know, I would say almost 90% of our patients are referral based. So share, you know, you mentioned again, you know, if you can have an effect on one life, then you would be happy with that. And again, then you reference, you know, I don't say my staff, I say my team. That's just a me thing. But I'm glad you brought that up. And I am super blessed with a great team, a core who, you know, greets you right when you walk in. I mean, obviously we're back adjusting and seeing patients and things like that. But without them, I mean, you know, our, you know, office does not click and run efficiently. And move appointments around and reschedule things, and but also, you know, this just happened last week. One of them brought up and said, "Hey, you know, I noticed this when a patient walked in through the door." So, you know, they're my eyes and ears as well, and you know, I want to thank them for, you know, their contributions. They're always consistent. They're always, you know, they're just an extension. We're an extension of one another. Just because we're the ones that get to, you know, adjust the patient's. Just as you mentioned, mentality, you know, greeting you with a warm welcome can have a huge effect.
I like that you call them teams. Everyone's heard the saying, there's no I in team. The nice thing about your team, and I want to compliment you and your team. One, a team takes a leader. In football, we have coaches, we have quarterbacks, we have leaders to the team. And in almost every sport, there is leadership, and that leadership leads the team, but the team makes choices whether they want to be a cohesive team and win, and in life you're still winning. So it's a matter of, do you want to play or do you want to sit on the sidelines of life? And your team encouraged me to want to play, to want to get out there, to do things. And the leadership you've provided that team, and you didn't know I was going to say this. We've not talked about this ahead of time.
Oh boy.
But I'm going to put some spotlight on you, and that what you have done to lead this team. You know, you and Dr. Helms have truly made this team a team that is excited, that enjoys coming to work, because it is still a job for everyone. We all have to go to work, but they don't look at it as a work. They look at it as, this is the place they want to be to help people. You know, and that takes a lot of great leadership, and I want to thank you, and I want, speaking on behalf of a lot of your patients, we want to thank you for that good leadership, and we want to thank your team for all the hard work that they put into their jobs every single day and taking care of your patients. So Thank you.
Yeah, I appreciate that. Again, I am usually keep the spotlight off of me and thank the others for sure. Because again, without them, who answers the phones, who does all the things that they do, and I mean, I can go through a list, and I still probably don't have an idea of everything they do in a day. So, to my team, when they watch this, I am very grateful. I'm very blessed to have you and support my vision. One of the things when we travel to seminars that they always say is, I picked this as a profession, or inadvertently it picked me. That's just a chiropractic thing. But, bringing a team together that didn't go to school to necessarily even be in healthcare or be a chiropractor or a chiropractic assistant, for them to support my love, my passion, my vision, I'm very thankful for them. So, as we wrap up, a few last minute things. So, chiropractic care. What did you think chiropractic care was before you started care, during care, and where we are today?
I will definitely say that my knowledge of chiropractic care, as you said, I was referred here by another patient. Mm-hmm. My knowledge, admittedly, was very low. What the other patient told me was, look, you're in a lot of pain. This helped me. You need to check it out. Here's where you should go. And I will be honest with you, I had never really considered chiropractic care, so I really hadn't done any research. I hadn't thought about it. I didn't really understand it. I learned more. When you greet a new patient, one of the things you try to do is educate them. Mm-hmm. And I learned more in that first initial education about chiropractic care than I knew in my entire life. I didn't know very much. I had a lot of questions. Mm-hmm. I had a lot of fears. You hear positives and you hear negatives and you don't know what to believe. And I didn't even know where we were going to start. When we transitioned into my care, I felt comfortable. I felt like things were explained to me. I felt like that I was not just treated or cared for. And you mentioned healthcare. It's interesting, the last part of that word is care.
Yeah.
And I want to ask a question of anyone who's watching this. When is the last time that you took care of yourself and went to a healthcare provider who provided care? Mm. If you don't feel that your healthcare provider is providing care, then you need to make choices. Whether it's finding another healthcare provider, finding the right one for you, or making changes in yourself, listening to your healthcare provider. How many of us hear our healthcare providers but do nothing they ask us to do? So if I can make one giant point, it's that healthcare has the word care. And care has a lot of meanings. Care has, taking care of someone. You can care about something. There's a lot of different meanings to the word care, and it's right there in the word. It's the second half and probably the most important part of that word. Health. Without health, we have disease, as you call it, disease. Mm-hmm. And we have that without health. And if we don't care for ourselves, we lead directly into that. And I felt that your team took the time to ask me questions, to say, what can we do to improve? What can we do to care for you? Notice I used the word again because that was something that was used with me.
Absolutely.
What can we use to care for you? What do you need to see? What goals? You mentioned some of my goals. Just simple life goals. I didn't want to run a marathon that day. I wanted to be able to sit down. Just simple life goals. And I didn't feel that I was just a person coming in, getting treatment, and tossed out the door. I was asked, how are you doing with your exercises? How are you doing with your water intake? I'm still asked those questions today. Mm-hmm. Because you still care. And as long as you are caring for someone, you're making a change in their life. And that's where I felt the chiropractic care came in. Because, notice again, chiropractic care. Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. It's not just an adjustment. It's a full lifestyle. It's about caring for that person. One adjustment, and yes, you can go to people and you can get an adjustment and they may never see you again.
Mm-hmm.
They didn't care about you. You were a patient. You were in and out. But if you're going to dedicate your life to making changes, you need to find a team like I did who wanted to care for me. And it's not about long-term care. It's about lifetime care. There's a big difference. It's about lifetime care. It's about wanting to live to be 80, to be 90, to be 100, to be 110, and to be able to walk in, not be rolled around in a wheelchair. You know, you spoke about my feet. I was born with my feet turned in. My pediatrician told me when I was very young and told my parents that by 40 years old I would likely be in a wheelchair because I never had any corrective things done to my legs. I'm 42 years old and I'm in better health than I've ever been. I was replacing my shoes because of the way I was walking, and as my family likes to call it, waddling.
Yep.
I was replacing my shoes every few months because I would wear out the inside of my shoes. I'm now going 8 to 9 months on a pair of shoes. I've never done that before. I may even get longer out of them because I've never experienced it. I've had the same pair of shoes now for the longest I've ever had them in my life.
So, I'm taking some notes on here, and I wasn't aware you were going to say half that stuff you just said, but not, care. Like, you've known me well enough that certain words, and you said a chiropractic adjustment, not a manipulation, not cracked, not popped, that you see on TikTok and things like this now that really get out of hand. But then care. Most of the time you hear that we're going to treat you, but when you want to be cared for is a big difference. And we are super specific on the words that we use. But I want to make sure I heard this correctly when you said, it's not long-term care, it's not short-term care, it's lifetime care. And when we think about it, every single day, every single choice that we make, back to choices, is moving us closer to health or closer to disease. And that is, health is something we have to address every single day of our life.
Absolutely.
If you want to get to 80, 90, 110 and be functioning, not be, as you said, rolled in here on a wheelchair or anything like that.
Absolutely.
So
how do you want to spend your life?
Yeah. So with that, and again, it's easy for me to say because this is what I do, but I would like to say that there's a change that's kind of happening. And whether that started in 2020, that we're starting to question some of the traditional means of health care, that I feel, and maybe it's just blind hope, maybe like 25 years old to 55, 60 years old, I think people are starting to ask different questions and starting to put it more on themselves to, hey, what they did back then wasn't necessarily always working. How can we be more proactive? Would you agree with that?
Absolutely. You mentioned weight loss surgery.
Mm-hmm.
I know quite a few people that have undergone weight loss surgery, and it's changed their life. Don't get me wrong, but there's a lot that goes along with that.
Yeah.
I have made choices that has led me to losing that weight and not having to have all the complications that a person with weight loss surgery has for the rest of their lives. I want to live a normal life as close to what God intended as possible. And if I'm going to do that, I got to make the choices now, because the older you get, your choices get even more limited, because you are wearing out the only body you have. We only have one of these, and we choose how we want to take care of it. And again, the word care, how you want to take care of your body. It truly is about the choices you make, and the earlier you can make them, the easier it is, but you can make those choices even when you're 60 and 70. This is not limited to, someone in their teens or someone in their 20s. It's not limited to someone in their 40s like me. You can choose at any time, but the quicker you can choose, make the choice today, because the quicker you can choose, the longer you're going to enjoy life. And that's what it's about. I mean, it's about living the life God gave you.
Powerful. Dr. Jake just said this the other day. I heard him say it. I took it to note. You know, our job is to help restore, not replace. Where, again, we've become such a society that we're okay with replacements. Because restoring usually takes a little bit more grit and some effort to it. So, wrapping this up, you said you can make the choice now. Because the further we delay this, it obviously becomes tougher. Absolutely. And you mentioned, 50, 60, 70. You can still make that choice. Sure, it might be a little tougher. But there's some hope there. So in closing, is there anything that you want to add before we wrap up?
I just want to encourage people to truly stop, take some time, think about the choices they make, think about how they feel about themselves, think about whether they have that hope you mentioned or not. Hope is a very powerful thing, and without hope, we can be very miserable in life. And we can choose to have hope or choose not to have hope. And I want people to have hope. I want people to go home, take your pill bottle, set all your pills out, because I'm sure many of you, like me, take pills. And you know what? Now I don't. You know, how important it is for me to transition just from these anchors, as I like to look at them. But I encourage people to lay their pill bottles out. Take a look at that and realize you need all those chemicals just to maintain yourself. You're not improving yourself. There's nothing here making you better, especially with a painkiller. It's not making you better. It's deadening the pain. This is good for neuropathy. This is good for all kinds of nerve damage. And what it does is it deadens the nerve. That's what the change it makes. It doesn't actually fix the nerve. It just makes it so you can't feel what the nerve signals are trying to tell you. God designed your body to tell you when there was a problem. It is very complex, as you mentioned. Mm-hmm. You know, if we look at all the pieces of the human body, and doctors get to see this, but regular, everyday people don't realize how complex your body is. Just to keep you alive, if one thing fails, it can make the difference between life and death, and it can be a very small thing. And if you're taking all these chemicals and you're taking them to feel better, you're not getting better, you're just maintaining. And I don't want people to maintain. I don't want them to just feel better. I want them to be better. And I encourage people to set their pills out, look at them, and make a choice. It's a very simple choice. It's not complicated. It doesn't require, it's not the end of the world. It doesn't require tons of effort, money, everything. It's a choice. It's in here. And once we make the choice, then you choose, I'm going to put the effort into things. I'm going to make the changes. Whether it's losing weight, whether it's stopping taking medication, whether it's changing what we eat. One of the things we haven't talked about, my diabetes, that is now under control. I mentioned that my diabetes, my A1C was over 10. It's now today, as of a month ago, it's 5.5. So half of what it used to be. So much that I shocked my own doctor, because he said most people will come down when they find out they're diabetic, but they don't stay down and they don't get down to the level I was at. Within 6 months, I went from being diabetic, undiagnosed, very high sugar, to being what they call diabetic remission, meaning I'll always be diabetic, but I don't have to be on the medication because I've lowered by choosing correct foods. I cut out certain foods, and it wasn't difficult. We think that, we have to have this food, and we have to have that food. And people need to realize you don't have to. You can make the choices. You can make the choices with your pills. You can make the choices with your food. And there are plenty of things out there to eat that I never got to enjoy because I thought everything had to be this food, and this food. And learning that, hey, You don't have to eat that way. Pasta. We love pasta here in America. I mean, I think that everybody eats pasta. You know what? I eat something called chickpea pasta now. Mm-hmm. It's made from chickpeas. Mm-hmm. It is so much healthier for me. And it tastes no different. I didn't even realize the first time I ate it that it was chickpea pasta. My wife just made it and she said, here, you can eat this. And I said, but it's pasta. And she says, it's different. She said, try it. I tried it and I said, it tastes like pasta. What's different? And she explained to me what chickpea pasta was, and I didn't even know it existed. So by educating myself and learning these things from my wife and the help that she gave me, and if I could just say one thing to someone who has had my back this entire time, the support of my wife has been amazing. And I want to thank her for that. I want her to know that without her support and the support of my children, I may not be here today. And it's really about supporting each other and caring for each other. So
that's one of my big things when we go through, you know, our new patients and reports and things, is making sure the person, it's typically the spouse, or, you know, a health partner, a buddy or whatever, that somebody's outside of here that has your back. Because there are going to be highs, there are going to be lows. And when you have a team that is your family, supports you, I mean, they got your back. So.
It's not easy. It's not roses. It's not all, you know, happy moments. There are down times. There are up times. I have been disappointed in myself. I have done things that I have regretted health-wise, even since this journey. But the choices you make is, okay, I ate this, or, you know, I didn't drink enough water today, or whatever those negatives are, is turning those negatives into positives and changing your life and making the change that you need to make those negatives positives. You can make mistakes and still continue the journey.
So, wrapping this up, one of the things I get super excited about is some of my longest patients, for some reason, they end up being on Thursday evening. And I truly, it warms my heart, because I know I know this journey that you went through and everything you've done. And when you always walk in every day, every Thursday, you're Don, and that's what we expect. We expect no different. We'll see Don every Thursday, and you just do awesome. So I want to congratulate you. You know, people go through difficult times. I can't imagine. I mean, the amount of discipline that you've showed over the last 26 months. I want to congratulate you.
Thank you.
I know we say that every single time you're in. We even, you know, we joke about the clothes that you're in now, from where you were. That it's different to even adjust you now than it was 12 pounds ago. So I want to thank you, and thank you for trusting us and always doing everything that we've asked you to do. So
absolutely.
Thank you. Thanks for the interview. I'm super glad we got to do this.
Absolutely. Thank you very much.
And finally do it. You're welcome. And I hope that some of you out there took this to heart. You got to see a real, 26-month journey. And the journey always continues, as you said, that it's lifetime care. So I hope that you found some of this information on here with Don, maybe even relatable to you. If it's not you, maybe somebody in your corner, in your family, at your work. Share, I know this is, heck, I don't even know how long we've been talking on here now, almost probably 40 minutes, but some clips, if you found something that's relevant. A lot of these things, sad to say, are relevant in America now. These are common things that we see. So chiropractic care, again, not just adjusting the spine, but adjusting a lifestyle, making proper choices, having a great healthcare team alongside of you, and making the choice. Like Don said, the best time to start is now, because we can't just keep kicking the can down the road, per se. So thank you all for tuning into this. I look forward to doing more patient kind of interviews like this. This is kind of fun. Awesome. So thank you guys again. Tune in to our Tuesday spinal workshops. Again, those are our videos that we do every Tuesday evening, typically anywhere from 8 to 15 minutes. varying health topics. Dr. Jake talked about sunshine and sunscreen the other day. But psychology of healing, low back pain, fibromyalgia, headaches, any kind of topic to help improve your health. Whether you are a patient, not a patient, going to be a patient, anybody can benefit from those. So thanks again for tuning in, and we'll catch you soon.
Hey everybody, hope you enjoyed that spinal workshop. Don't forget to like the video if you learned something, and be sure to share it with somebody else who may benefit from that information discussed. Also, make sure you subscribe to our channel and click the notification bell so you are alerted whenever we post a video.